Today we're going to go through a bit of a speeded up walkthrough of how I drew this pub, and you can see I started off with my horizon line. I always dot that in to make sure I get my perspective lines in accurately, and you can see as I'm working through the beginning of this drawing I'm working with quite a light line, so I'm not necessarily putting down hard black lines yet. I'm really trying to feel through the drawing and measure it out. And so I'm starting with this main front facade. You can see I've just mapped in the front wall and the main entrance way. You can see that I'm using the detail from this sort of Tudor frontage to actually create some measurements for myself. So before I actually map in the right hand wall that comes back on us, I'm using some of the decoration to help mark that out. It's actually quite a tricky little view because there are some slopes, so actually it goes up onto a slight hill at the back there, and there's also some difficult angles to tackle with this roof, for example, so trying to get in that roof line and then map in that right hand wall, and using this again the Tudor detailing and the windows to create a bit of a measurement. So as I doodle in the chimney, get the rest of that building mapped in, at least the outline of it, I start also dropping in the little windows. And here you can see I've got the windows in on that main right hand wall now, and so I'm just starting to work through the window and door detail on that main facade. It's getting to this fiddly bit. So you can see on the left hand side I've just dropped in the sign, and I like to use things like the signs or any kind of posts, lamp posts, that kind of thing, road sign posts and so on, to frame the drawings. I'm using that pub sign as the kind of the frame for this on that left hand side, and then what I'll probably do is try and frame it with a bit of a pavement or something similar to kind of ground the sketch at the end, but we'll come to that bit later. So I keep adding in the details. There's a little sort of veranda bit at the front with seating. I drop that in. There's these lovely windows, there's little window panels, and then there's quite a lot going on around this entrance, where there's lots of glazing, but it's also got its own little roof. So again, some tricky angles as it moves into sort of the more detailed aspects of this drawing. So now that I've got most of it mapped out, you can see I'm just trying to doodle in some of the details before I actually start filling in some of the blacks, which is yet to come. So getting in that planter, the steps, that little angle slope that goes up towards the rear of the pub, getting in some of these roof slates, and then starting to get a thicker pen here. So I've just picked up the this is a 0.5, it's a uniball, it's actually the I Micro. I really like it because it comes out really black. This lovely strong black ink comes out of this pen. It's just lovely and smooth to use. I'm not being paid by Uniball, so don't worry, I'm not promoting it for that reason, but it does give this lovely smooth line, and I really love the contrast of the ink colour. So I'm using it here to just fill in some of these, again, these Tudor elements, start to go in on the blacks. I like to squint at this point because when you're squinting at either the object in front of you, or it works even when you're squinting at a photograph, you really get a sense of where the lights and darks are. So really going in on darks first, getting the blacks into the windows where there is no reflection, but you're sort of looking onto the inside, getting the blacks under the roof line, getting the black onto the timber panels, onto the facade where we have that Tudor detail. There's a lot of heavy blacks going on around that doorway and that sort of porch. And then just trying to create a bit of contrast. It was not the sunniest day, it was a bit overcast, and so there isn't really the contrast in shadow or sun going over this side of this building. There was no sun beaming down on the front or the side, so I'm not adding any kind of shading to either of those walls, because that sort of main front wall and that side wall, because it really wasn't that contrasting, and so it does make it more difficult to try and bring something to life in 3 dimensions when you don't have that contrast of light to cast the shadow. But hopefully this works out, because we have the detail in the kind of black and whites of the scene. So I'm just trying to get in the final bits here. This drawing is moving quite slowly, because trying to be fairly accurate, and there are, again, as I already mentioned, some complicated angles in here, especially with the odd slopes, and there's a few steps that go up as well, and there's a few sort of kinks to this old building. This is a pub that's been around for a long time, but it's just recently been renovated, and everyone's been very excited about the new launch of this pub and bringing it back into the local area. But again, just getting those final bits in now, you can see, and starting to take shape with a bit of shadow. I'm using a thinner pen here. It's the Uni Pen 0.1, so using that to really create that shade. There's only 3 pens that I've used in this drawing so far. The main one that I draw with is the Uniball Signo DX. That's this one here. It's a 0.38, and I'm using it to just mark in very lightly and carefully the sign that's been sign written onto the front of the building, and also to doodle in that pub sign on its little hanging post as well. There's a bit of a piece of signage at the top there. And then this is the only time I get the ruler out. So I'm using a pencil here, because I'm terrible at drawing straight lines when it comes to borders. So I mark out with a pencil my border, and then I get a pen and I go over it, so it still gives me a sort of gentle wobbly line. And then again, when I'm starting to title things, I can't actually write in a straight line. So what I do is I just measure out with a ruler and a pencil, lightly mark in some lines for me to actually pen in the words that I want. And I've just taken the Prince of Wales logo here and drawn that in underneath. I'm just filling in the blacks as well, so it stands out in their lovely font. So just trying to mimic their font here. And then that is that. Thanks for watching. I hope that made sense, and if you liked it, please hit subscribe and come back for more next time. Bye.